What if the secret to building wealth wasn't earning more, but treating savings like your rent? Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire Podcast, helping law firm owners go from grind to greatness. I'm your host, Darren Wirtz. Most of us human beings save what's left over. The problem is we end up with nothing. With unpredictable income and the pressures of running a law practice, saving often becomes an afterthought for many law firm owners. But what if you flipped the script and treated savings like a non-negotiable bill?
We are on a mission to help lawyers and law firm owners maximize wealth and achieve financial independence. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire with Darren Wirtz from Wirtz Financial Services.
Hey there, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you joined us today. First, a quick plug for our book club. If you want to sharpen your money mindset and connect with other law firm owners who are doing the same, join the Lawyer Millionaire Book Club. Each month, we dive into a powerful read each quarter, we dive into a powerful read that fuels your growth in business, wealth, and life. In fact, right now, we're reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. We have over 80 members in the club. It's totally free, and you'll walk away with real strategies you can use. Sign up now at lawyermillionaire.com. All right, let's talk about our topic today, which is treating savings like a bill. It's hard to save sometimes, and most of us human beings, we wait to see what's left over before we put anything into our savings. The problem is there's usually not much left over. Let's talk a minute about the psychology behind the paying yourself first method. And profit first is the same concept if you're familiar with the profit first methodology, which is treating your profit as a priority and setting aside profit first before all things. Well, I've been an advocate of that same concept for years in your personal finances as well. Most people treat savings as optional or left over. But think about how you think about your mortgage payment or your rent, right? Those are non-negotiable bills. When it comes to paying the mortgage or paying the rent, you're going to make sure that that is paid every single month. In fact, there's a reason that mortgage payments and rent payments come out at the beginning of the month, because that's when you're paid, right? That's when they know that you're going to have the money, and they want to make sure they get their cut, right? And before you put money towards anything else, you're going to make sure that bill is paid. Well, let's rewire our minds, right? And let's think about savings in the same way. This is a behavioral trick that we can play on ourselves. People take bills a lot more seriously than goals. So why not treat your savings just like a bill? That's going to make you more consistent, more intentional, and ultimately more successful. And you know what? Your savings is a bill. These are bills you're going to have to pay in the future. You're putting money aside for future bills. So you can think of it that way. You're treating your future self the right way. Well, law firm owners often struggle with savings, and there are some reasons why. First of all, irregular income, right? As a business owner, you have fluctuations in your revenue. Some months are good, some months are not great. Income is up and down and all over the place. Welcome to being a business owner, right? The inconsistencies in cash flow. And so what happens is when you have that roller coaster of cash flow, you might have a tendency to pay everything and everyone else first and wait to pay yourself, or wait for a good month in order to put any money away. The problem is then those good months are far and few between, or when they do come, there's something else that comes up that needs your money. There's always something that needs to be paid for. The ups and downs in cash flow also lead to emotional challenges. It can make us afraid. It can make us scared to save money. It can make us scared to pay ourselves appropriately. And a common mistake I see among many law firm owners is prioritizing cash flow over personal wealth, right? You want to make sure that the cash flow in the firm is healthy, but you need to make sure you're paying yourself enough. And I see law firm owners all the time who lower their pay, who are barely squeaking by in terms of their own salary and paying themselves in order to make sure that the firm is operating successfully. If that's happening to you, there's a problem, right? And we've got to fix the cash flow issue in the practice. If you're not paying yourself first, you're running a business that feeds everyone but yourself. So that's kind of a different topic, right? Making sure that you're paying yourself in your practice. But the same concept applies to your personal finances as well. So why should we treat savings like a bill? Well, savings is a bill, as I mentioned, to your future self. Your future self is going to have bills: housing, healthcare, lifestyle, possibly helping your kids or grandkids. If you ever plan on retiring, you're going to have bills, right? So by skipping savings and not putting the money in the savings accounts, in the retirement accounts, in the investment accounts, you are skipping out. That's money that your future self is not going to have to pay bills. You wouldn't skip a mortgage payment, so don't skip your retirement payment. Be nice to your future self. In fact, think about that when you're setting up your savings, when you're putting it on autopilot, right? Shift that mindset from optional to non-negotiable and be nice to your future self. One of the biggest secrets to making savings a bill is to automate the process, right? And if you work at a big company, this is easy for you because many times you have a 401k plan, and sometimes you're just automatically set up, and you're automatically set up with a certain percentage, and that percentage automatically goes up each year, and you're automatically put into a certain target date fund. And so you're kind of automatically put into this savings mode. Let me tell you a quick little story, right? In a former life, I was a teacher. You may or may not know that. I taught 8th and 9th grade science for 5 years in Cincinnati, Ohio. It was my first career. And, one of the magical things about teaching is I learned the power of savings, right? Because as a teacher, you are forced to put away 13% of your paycheck. You don't get a choice in the matter. 13% of your paycheck is going to be withheld and put into the teacher retirement system. Now, in Ohio, you have 2 different retirement systems to choose from. You have a pension system, a traditional pension, and you have one that's a defined benefit plan, and then you have a defined contribution plan, and that's like a 401k type of plan, right? I chose the 401k plan. My dad's a financial advisor. I'm like, yes, I want to invest the money. I want the money to be my own. I'm going to let it grow. Like, make the money mine. I'll invest it. I'll let it grow. Now, the other cool thing is that the state matches dollar for dollar. So as a teacher, 26% of your paycheck is going into retirement every year. Now, I only taught for 5 years. And the first year, I only made $36,000. But at the end of 5 years, I had way more than a year's worth of salary saved up. I think I had close to $70,000 saved up in a 5-year time span. Because not only was I investing, it was growing. But that is the power of compounding. Now, as a teacher, I was poor. I did not have 2 nickels to rub together, or 2 dimes, or whatever the phrase is, right? But because I was forced to save and had no choice in the matter, I was able to accumulate a lot of money. Gosh, if we could just all do the same thing. If we could all just lower our lifestyle by 13% and take that 13% chunk and sock it away in our investments, wow, we would really accrue some wealth, wouldn't we? That's the power of automating the process. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking or savings into your investment accounts. Autopilot removes the emotion and it removes the inconsistency. And use tools to help you. One of my favorite tools is Ally Bank. Ally is an online bank. They don't have any locations, but they make it really, really easy to set up multiple accounts. So, Profit First, I'm a big fan of the Profit First system. You can use the Relay Bank. I use Relay Bank. To help me. They make it very simple to set up separate accounts and automate the process of your cash flow. You can do the same thing in your personal life with your personal cash flow. Unfortunately, Relay doesn't do personal bank accounts. I wish that they did, but Ally does personal bank accounts, and you can set them up very, very easily. You go on your computer, you type a few buttons, and boom, you can set up a new account. Traditional banks, they make it such a tedious, long process to set up accounts. I don't know why it is. Brick and mortar banks are just so difficult to work with. Ally is great, right? You can set up multiple accounts for your different savings purposes, and then they have different savings tools. So they can round up your purchases and then take those extra pennies and sock them away in your savings. And then they have this like automatic feature that can find extra savings for you and sock it away into your savings account for you. So it's a really powerful tool. And then the other thing I like is, much like the Profit First system, you can divide up a bank account into percentages, and you can distribute money in percentages to sub-accounts within an account. It's banking-based budgeting, right? So you can have within your main savings account or checking account, you can have a mortgage sub-account and a grocery sub-account. And it's pretty cool. So anyway, Ally is not a sponsor of this show. I just like them and I use them. So there you go. That's one tool. There are a lot of other tools that you can use as well. And, this is one of the great benefits of running payroll. Once you get to the step where you're running payroll for yourself and running payroll for your business and you're putting yourself on payroll, is that you can then automate this process, right? You can set up a 401k for your business. You can participate in that 401k, and you can automate the process of putting money into your 401k as a participant in the firm's 401k plan. So pick a day each month and make that pay yourself day, right? But better yet, automate the process. Go right now and set up an auto pay, right? Set up an investment account and set up an auto pay. It could be $10 a month. I don't care. Just get it going. Systems really are the secret. And for law firm owners, systems are the name of the game. Make sure you're paying yourself a salary. And, if you're an LLC and you're taking a draw, make sure it's a consistent draw, right? A lot of times I get questions from law firm owners about how should I structure my draw? Make your draw monthly. Figure out what you need in your personal life to meet your expenses and make that your income. You can do it, right? Set it up on auto. There's no reason you can't set up an automatic monthly draw for yourself. You're running payroll, have a draw on top of that for yourself, and by the way, this is just a caveat, but oh my gosh, I was watching TikTok the other day and I saw this ridiculous TikTok video about running, how you shouldn't run payroll. If you're an LLC, you should take draws instead. And if you're running payroll, it's illegal and the IRS will come get you. Okay, so this is a sidebar, but don't get your tax advice from TikTok. Although I am on TikTok, so anyway, sidebar there. But systems, right? That's where running payroll becomes very, very beneficial for you, because you can have an automatic amount of money going into a savings account for yourself. And, much like the Profit First system, you can use percentages in your personal life, right? If your personal income is fluctuating, you can use a percentage-based system, and you can have a certain percentage go into this account for bills and have another percentage go into this account for general spending and have another percentage go over here for your savings. Segment your accounts into different purposes like that and make those allocations. And have different buckets for different purposes, for your emergency fund, for long-term spending goals, for retirement, etc. This is so critical to get right, because I see so many heartbreaking stories. The difference between consistent savers and inconsistent savers. Those who have been good and diligent about saving money over time for many, many years have built up massive amounts of wealth just by doing that. Right. And I've seen it. I've seen it in clients that I've worked with. Right. I'll tell you some stories. Law firm, two partners that owned a law firm. They came to me because they wanted to set up a SEP IRA for their business. And in the meantime, they had extra money that they wanted to invest. So I suggested, hey, let's just set up a brokerage account. Let's put, $1,000 a month away. And before you knew it, $1,000 a month became $2,000 a month. And before you know it, both of these firm owners had accumulated a couple $100,000 apiece in after-tax savings in their investments, because they were just consistent about it. They put it on auto pay. And you know what? Even if it's a stretch, even if you have to undo it sometimes, don't worry about it. In fact, this one client of mine, sometimes once in a while, he reaches out to me. He's like, hey, you know what? Oh, can we skip this month? Because this month things were a little lean, and then we'll skip that month for him, right? But setting it up and having it that way makes it like you just know it's coming out and it's non-negotiable. So schedule it, make it real, make it happen. Some common objections that I get I can't afford to save right now. Maybe you're thinking that right now. Maybe you can't afford to save right now, but let me reframe that for you. You can't afford not to. Your future self can't afford for you not to save. Another objection I hear is my income is unpredictable. Well, that's exactly why you need consistency in your savings, because you need a bucket of money you can pull from during those moments of unpredictability. Another one I hear, I'll wait until the next big client comes in, or I'm waiting until whatever, this case resolves or that. Procrastination really is the enemy of progress. Most people who are waiting until the perfect time never comes until you're 65. And by then it's too late. You don't build wealth with good intentions. You build it with consistent action. Tools and tips. Well, bank accounts. I really like the Ally Bank. There are other bank account systems out there like that. Make sure you're using a bank that makes it easy for you to set up that automation process and use apps and things. We really like the Monarch Money app to track your savings and track your goals, and consider some kind of a profit first system for yourself and for your law practice. You can do the same thing. In fact, I do this in my own personal life. My partner and I, we have one account. It's called our spending account. And a certain percentage of monthly income goes into that spending account. Now, the beautiful thing about having that that special spending account is I have zero bills that come out of that account. So I always know whatever is in that account, I can spend it. I can spend every dime and nothing bad is going to happen because there are no other bills, there are no checks being written out of it. There is nothing coming out of that account. So just a little helpful hack for you there. Maybe that's helpful for you in managing your own savings. But here's my challenge for you today. This week, treat your savings like a bill. Set up an automatic transfer or increase your automatic transfer. Even if it's just $100, make it non-negotiable. Your future self will thank you. I guarantee it. Building wealth isn't about luck or hitting some big payday. It's about creating habits that compound over time. When you pay yourself first, you're not just saving money, you are reclaiming control, creating peace of mind, and building a future where you aren't chained to your practice. Wouldn't that be great, right? Not a future where you don't necessarily not practice law, but a future where you have the freedom to do whatever you want because you are not chained to your practice, to your business. And so many businesses, for so many business owners, so many law firms, for so many law firm owners, become traps that we are chained to and unable to escape from. Freedom, that's what we're all about here. If you want help setting up systems like Profit First or cash flow systems for your personal life, or creating a business plan that aligns your personal and financial goals, jump on a call with me, and I would love to share with you how we work with our clients and show you our one-page strategic business plan. The link to book a call is in the show notes. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, leave us a review. It helps more law firm owners find the show. And finally, don't forget to join our book club. Just go over to lawyermillionaire.com and click on community up at the top. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of The Lawyer Millionaire. I'm your host, Darren Wirtz. It's been great being here with you. I wish you great success. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Lawyer Millionaire. Click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. This content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This content is not intended to represent investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of a qualified investment or tax advisor with any questions you may have regarding your own financial circumstances.